Good afternoon, Scorebook Live viewers, and welcome to another one of our weekly installments of Face to Face. I know you're used to my colleague, the fresh-faced Andy Bueller. I call him Simba. Today you get Mufasa, the old vet, doing his first Instagram Live interview, and I'm very, very excited to have one of the best girls basketball players in the state of Washington joining us. That's Talia Von Oelhoffen. I'm going to try and wire her in as we speak, and let's see if I can do this correctly. There she is.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for joining us. I was kind of telling people that this is my first Instagram Live interview, and I'm very honored to have you as my first guest. Recent Oregon State commit. Congratulations on
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
So I'm having problems understanding the jersey game in your family and in you in particular. I've seen that you've worn 11 at Chiawana, you've worn 44 at TCP, you've worn 22 with the Blazers, you have 15 on with your Oregon State photo. What is your preferred jersey number? What would you like to be wearing moving forward and maybe into your Oregon State career?
It's always been 22. My mom was 22 and my sisters were always 22. And then when I got to prep, they didn't have it. And so I had to choose between like 44 and I don't know the other numbers, but I just decided to stick with like the double digits being the same. And then when I got to Chiawana, I had to choose between 11 and 25. So I just stuck with it, but I'd prefer to have 22.
Yeah. Was 22 not available at Chiawana? Is that why you had to
Mm-mm.
go 11?
No, they only had like 12 jerseys, so 22 wasn't one of the numbers. But the 15 on the Oregon State, the jersey I was wearing, it's because it was Jamie Wisner's jersey, so that was what the 15 was for.
Gotcha. We'll talk about her a little bit later in the interview, but I kind of wanted to recap for people that are tuning in all around the state, maybe even in Corvallis. You come from a pretty prolific athletic family. Your dad had Kimu had a 14-year NFL career. Was drafted by Cincinnati, won a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers against the mighty Seahawks in 2005. Your mom was one of the best basketball players to come out of the Tri-Cities, Tondi, and was a two-time All-American, won a national pentathlon championship, had a great career at Hawaii. Both your sisters played basketball. What's it like, and what's the benefit of being the baby in a family full of really good athletes?
Yeah, I love it. Just being able to learn from them and follow in their footsteps. You would think I feel a lot of pressure, but I've kind of just always been around sports, and it's always what I've wanted to do. So I have fun with it, and kind of want to like create my own path, I guess, and be great, like, and kind of make a name for myself, even though they've kind of already made one for me. But yeah, definitely, it's awesome to learn from them and have such successful parents.
Yeah, and we'll have some questions from some fans that talk a little bit about your family kind of later in the interview. But let's go straight into your commitment to Oregon State. Let's just kind of ask you right off the top, what was it about Oregon State that was the best fit for you?
Well, obviously knowing Jamie, I kind of grew up watching them a lot. So before I even began thinking about recruiting, it was always kind of in the back of my mind. Not necessarily thinking about going there. I always kind of just knew about it and was familiar with it. And then once I started getting recruited by them, I became more interested. And then I built really good relationships with the coaches, and just getting on campus, it just felt like a good fit for me and somewhere I can be successful. And I just love the family atmosphere and how close everyone is. And I think I can have a good 4 years there.
How far back do you remember them sort of being a presence in your basketball life, Tori?
I think whatever year I think Jamie's sophomore year. Because after she stopped playing with my sister, I kind of didn't hear about her a lot. And then I remember when she went to Oregon State, a lot of people were thinking, like, why did she go there? Because they weren't good at all at the time. And then she kind of just rebuilt the program and just kind of helped Scott make it what it is today. So ever since she went there, I would say they've always kind of been in the back of my mind.
Well, you and other juniors, even some seniors who haven't decided, have had to try and deal with recruiting in this in the middle of this COVID pandemic. How did that impact everything for you starting in March? I know you told me Sunday that this was kind of the time that you kind of thought you'd come to a decision. But how did the COVID sort of impact the way you went about figuring this out?
Yeah, it was hard. I was planning on taking my remaining 3 visits after basketball season was over. And obviously with everything going on, I wasn't able to do that. And at the beginning of this whole quarantine or whatever, I was still planning on taking my visits in the fall, and I was going to wait. And then I think 2021 just started committing out of nowhere, and then I felt more pressure. So that was a lot to deal with. And then it kind of just hit me one day. I was like, there's no point in waiting. I think I know where I want to be. I don't think I need to go on my visits. I think I just want to get the stress off my shoulders and not have that going into my senior year.
What kind of sticks with you in with Scott, a guy like Scott Ruick, who's really kind of built this thing at Oregon State, and the way he kind of runs that program? What kind of sticks with you the most about him?
I just love that he's a super cerebral coach, and he's really smart and is a good teacher of the game, which is the coaches I like the best. And I think he kind of thinks the game the way I do and focuses more on the mental part of it, which I really like, and I love that about him. And he's just a great guy and cares about his players on and off the court. So, yeah.
You told me on Sunday one of the harder parts was, I mean, let's kind of refresh. You had, your Final Four. You had UConn, you had Stanford, Oklahoma, UCLA were in the mix. I mean, you had to call Tara Vanderveer, you had to call Gino Ariama and say no. How do you tell those two coaches? What's that phone call like? Having to call those two coaches and go, I think I'm gonna go a different direction.
Well, I think I kind of decided not too long after I announced my top 5. I kind of made it more of a top 4. UConn was kind of like my dream to go to growing up, and then as the recruiting process became real, and obviously Gino started recruiting me, it seemed more of little Talia wanted to go there, and as I grew up, I kind of just want to do my own thing. But yeah, having to tell Tara and Sherry Cole and Corey Close, it was hard, and they're great people, and I really love them. But yeah, that was the hardest part for me because I really do love all the coaches I built relationships with.
And people who follow the Oregon State program knows that you're ranked 10th right now nationally in the class of 2021 by ESPN.com. You also have a fellow commit from Illinois, Greta Schroeder, who's ranked also very high, I think 12th. Yeah. You've gotten to know her a little bit here recently. What are you finding out about Greta, your future teammate there with the Beavers?
Yeah, I had heard the name before, and then even a few weeks before I committed, talking to the coaches, that was always kind of the name that would come up when you talk about what their dream recruiting class would be, who they want, who they envision, and I think they would, because her top 2 were Stanford and Oregon State, so I think they kind of would just tell her about me and tell me about her and, say you guys can be roommates, whatever. And then we started kind of following each other on everything. And I really like her. She's really nice. I'm excited to get to know her and play with her.
Last thing about Oregon State, you mentioned Janie Wiesner. I think it's Janie Scott now, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. She played at Oregon State, was one of Scott's early standouts when he came to Oregon State. You have a pretty good relationship with her. Can you explain that a little bit about, especially here in the last couple of years, just getting to work out with her and just sort of her influence and impact on you?
Yeah, I've known her since I was little because she played with my sister. And then a couple of years ago, her parents moved back to Tri-Cities, so she was in town while she was on a break from doing all her professional stuff. And my mom kind of hooked her up with my trainer, so we would train together. And then when I was at prep, she would come practice with us just to get runs in. And yeah, I've been able to learn a lot from her, and I love her. And yeah.
So let's kind of rewind a little bit. You go to a new school last year. You come from a small B school coming off a state championship at Tri-City Prep. What's it like? What's that transition? What was that transition like for you coming from a small private school to the largest and when I say the biggest school in Washington. What was that transition like for you? What helped you get through that?
It was definitely really hard, especially, I mean, not basketball wise, but just school wise. I went to a private school my whole life, so I've always had really small classes, and I just grew up knowing every single person in my grade and like being friends with them. So going from a class of like 40 or 50 to like 8 or 900, it was kind of crazy, but obviously Chiawana not that far from prep, so I knew a lot of people, and it was a good adjustment. But basketball wise, I feel like people kind of thought it would be a challenge going from 2B to 4A, but I don't think they realized that I was playing on like one of the best AU teams in the country, so it was really nothing new to me basketball wise.
How much did that help your transition a little bit? I mean, you had a new coach that came in at the same time, and Mike Brown. It was his first year at Chiawana too. Well, how much did that kind of help the transition? Kind of having, everybody had to kind of get used to a new coach.
Yeah, it was definitely new for everyone. Playing with new people, having a new coach. The whole season was kind of just a learning experience for everyone. Um, it kind of made it easier because it wasn't like I was coming into a team that already had everything figured out, so we kind of figured it out together. So that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, you had a great season. Over 26 points a game. The scoring champion in the Mid Columbia Conference, the Player of the Year in the Mid Columbia Conference. Had a little bit of a rough road in the postseason, but got to the Tacoma Dome and lost to Glacier Peak in that first game. Overall, how would you characterize your first year at Chiawana?
I think we had a good run. I think we made a lot of improvements throughout the season. I don't think we ever really reached our full potential, but I think we have a pretty good squad coming back next year, and we have a lot of time to work on our game, and we have a lot of young girls with some good potential. So I think we'll be pretty good next year.
And you told me that your team was dealing with a lot of injuries. You yourself, and you were explaining this to me on Sunday. You yourself had to kind of power through something, and at the end of the season, your doctors kind of clued you in on what was wrong. You weren't feeling right. Can you tell that story for us a little bit about what you found out?
Yeah, I think throughout the whole season, I was kind of getting sick a lot, and I just didn't feel like myself really. Just my energy was down a lot, and I didn't really know what was wrong. But I would kind of just get through it. I didn't really have another option. I thought I was just unlucky with getting sick, and then going into playoffs, I felt really good. I hadn't been sick in a while, and then right after our regional game, the week leading up to state, I got really sick, and it got really bad. And then just all throughout state, I just knew something was wrong, and then we went and got my blood tested after, and I had had mono for 3 months, and I dealt with a lot of health issues after that, but I'm healthy now. I'm good. It just sucks that the season had to end like that.
There's some uncertainty, Talia, next year about what the state championship format's going to be, where the state championships are going to be held, where regionals might be held. I wanted to ask you, you played, you had your B tournament, you won your B championship in the Spokane Arena. You got to play last year in the Tacoma Dome. How would you compare those two venues for state championships?
Oh, I think small schools do it way better. I mean, they get it packed. They have like the lights and everything. Everything's televised. Yeah, the B tournament was something special. I've never experienced anything like it before. Just it was so fun and such a cool experience. And yeah, I definitely think 3A and 4A need to step it up a little bit in terms of, giving players a cool experience.
So we've gotten some questions from our viewers. I'll just kind of go down the list, and we'll try and kind of wrap these questions up quickly, and then we'll do a few rapid fire questions, and then we'll let you get back to, I don't know, what, your fifth workout today?
Okay.
First question is, do you want to pursue down the road a WNBA career?
Yeah, definitely. I think when it's all said and done, I do want to be a coach, wherever that is, but I do want to keep playing as long as I can.
Who is your biggest basketball inspiration?
My mom, definitely.
enough said on that. I mean, and this might be kind of hand in hand, but what inspired you to play basketball at an early age?
Well, my sister was 9 years older than me, so ever since I can remember, I've just been in the gym watching her. And there was never really like a decision to play basketball. I just kind of grew up in the gym. Um, I was always around it, and I loved it. Yeah, I don't remember ever being like, I want to play basketball. Like, I just always was.
Now, this question might come from a Kennewick or a Pasco player. They want to know who's the best player you've played with?
Played with
Yeah.
Haley Van Lith.
Can you refresh me? Who's Haley Van Lith?
I think we all know.
Uh, no, I know. Here's a fun question. This kind of goes back to your dad. What's it like being the daughter of a Super Bowl champ?
Um, I don't know. I remember going to the Super Bowl, and I mean, I was young, so I didn't really know what was going on, but I don't know what it's like to not be a daughter, so it's kind of just normal to me. He's just my dad. It's not, a big deal, I don't think.
Who are you most excited to play against in the Pac-12?
Like a person or a school?
Both. Yeah. So
Definitely Oregon. I think the Civil War. I'm excited to play 4 years of, back-to-back Civil War games. I think that's going to be awesome with who Oregon's going to have even after Sabrina leaves. I think they're still going to be really good, and yeah, I'm already so excited for those games.
And the last fan question that we have for you is, what's the one piece of advice you'd tell your younger self about basketball or life, or however you want to answer that question?
I think growing up, I kind of, at a young age, I was always like I grew really early, and I was always a lot just like taller and more developed and better than everyone. And so I think I kind of slacked off a little bit until, I got to like seventh or eighth grade because I didn't really need to. So definitely just always to work, even if you don't need to, just always work as hard as you can and make everyone around you better.
And we have a special question from your coach, Mike Brown. He wanted me to ask you if you could show all of us the face that you give him when you call out a play coming up the court, and then he changes the play, and then you sort of look back at it.
The face I give him, I don't know.
He says you give him a look, and he says you're good. He says you'll change the call, but he says that you always kind of give him a look when you sort of call something out when you guys are bringing the ball up, when you're bringing the ball up, and he calls something different.
I think more than anything, I'm just confused because we'll all be running something, and then like some of us will hear him and some of us won't. So like we won't all be running the same thing, and I'm just like, what? Like, what are you? I don't know. I think it's more just confused. I don't think I give him like attitude or anything.
Well, maybe that's just first year. Maybe that's just first year growing pains. Probably that'll be ironed out next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's go through some rapid fire. And again, I'd like to thank our special guest from Chiawana, Talia Von Oelhoffen, who's going to be a senior next year in pursuit of the all-time scoring mark and committed to a great Pac-12 program with Oregon State last Saturday. So, Talia, thank you. So here we go. Number one, the basketball shoe right now that you love the most.
Kyrie's.
Kyrie's? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite home-cooked meal?
Probably my mom's steak.
Steak? Okay. Which would mean more to you next year if it happened? Getting the all-time scoring record or becoming a McDonald's All-American?
McDonald's All-American.
Okay. Assuming that you win, which would mean more to you in a game? Scoring 40 points or dishing out 10 assists?
10 assists.
Okay. In your household, are we a cat household, a dog household, or is there another pet roaming around your house? Or do you guys have pets?
Dogs. We have 4 dogs.
4 dogs?
Yeah.
Okay. And the last thing, what would mean more to you, winning a 4A state title next year or a Pac-12 title down the road?
Pac-12 title, but I'm hoping to do both.
I gotcha.
Hmm.
Talia, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next year when basketball starts up. Best of luck this summer and in the months ahead.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.